Welcome, everyone. This is Recovery Dharma. My name is Julia. I'm one of the facilitators of this beautiful, beautiful practice. And I'd like to begin our meditation today with a sentiment of metta. Metta is loving kindness. And so today's sentiment is this painting, painted by our wonderful Sangha member Sean C. And this one reads, "May my smile be a source of healing. May my smile be a source of healing." Alrighty, friends. Welcome, welcome. On Wednesdays in the Spokane Sangha, we have been exploring a Zen practice, which is silent meditation. We've been studying Zen masters. We read books in this particular meeting, and we read them really slowly, sometimes a paragraph at a time. We've read the work of Suzuki Roshi, Roshi Joan Halifax, Thich Nhat Hanh, and today we're going to read from a book all about Shantideva, an 8th century monk who wrote basically a map for himself, a spiritual map, a spiritual guide on how he can guide his life using Buddhist practices and wake up from his own suffering, understand his own suffering, to stop engaging in behaviors that were unskillful and unethical, to stop, yes, exactly, to stop engaging in practices that were harmful to the body and mind. This book is called The Guide to the Way of the Bodhisattva, and we have been reading chapter 2. Today we're going to finish it. And it's all about purifying negativity. And this is not about purifying negativity like confessing your sins. This is about purifying negativity, about getting out of our own way, looking at our own habits, our own ways of being that are just getting in the way from us really aspiring to be who we want to be. So we're going to finish this chapter, and I just invite you to listen to these words. They are ancient, they're from the 8th century, and so just allow the spirit of these sentiments to just roll around in your mind and see what arises for you. We'll begin by breathing, turning the gaze inward. If you want to close your eyes, you can. If you'd like to gaze outward, that's fine. But just turn your gaze inward a little bit so that you can check in with yourself. What's your mood? How does your body feel? What's your mind doing? And whatever is happening for you right now in this moment, invite it to be perfect. Invite it to be exactly as it is. There's no need to judge your present time experience. All you are required to do really is to breathe and notice. Shantideva writes, "If it is necessary to exercise caution when near a small, ordinary precipice, how much more necessary is it when near the fathomless pits of hell? into which I could fall for a very long time. I'm going to add a little commentary here. In the Buddhist tradition, hell is a realm that comes after life, but it is also a realm that is right here, right now. So we can fall into a hell realm by way of our own misguided, unskillful actions. So to take caution at the edge of our own behavior is important. He writes, "It is unwise to indulge in pleasures, thinking, 'At least I shall not die today, for without doubt the time will come when I shall become nothing. Who will grant me fearlessness? How can I be freed from these fears? If I shall inevitably become nothing, how can I continue to indulge?' What remains with me now from the pleasant experiences of my previous lives that have now ceased, and yet, because of my strong attachment to worldly pleasures, I have gone against the advice of my spiritual guide. If, when I depart from this life and from my friends and relatives, I must wander alone, why commit non-virtue for the sake of friends and enemies? How can I definitely be freed from non-virtue, the source of all suffering, throughout the day and night? I should think only about this. How shall I be free from suffering?" That's his one question. Whatever I have done out of unknowing and confusion, be it a natural non-virtue or a transgression, with my palms pressed together and my mind fearful of suffering, bowing again and again, I confess them all before the protectors. I request all the holy beings to free me from my evils and faults, and since these bring only harmful results in future, I will not commit them again. Throughout this chapter, friends, we have been reading about Shantideva's devotion to what he calls the protectors, the ancients, the people, literally, the people, the spiritual practitioners who came before him hundreds and hundreds of years before him, and who perfected their understanding of suffering, the conditions of suffering for themselves. They practiced, they meditated, they stopped behaving in unskillful ways, motivated by pleasure and avoiding pain. And instead, they looked at the conditions of their lives. What brought them joy? What brought them misery? And those things, those conditions, they began to participate in them more and more. So the things that brought happiness, they did more of those things. The things that brought misery, they did less of those things. And Shantideva recognizes that every time he engaged in something that caused him misery, it was causing misery in others. His suffering created suffering for others. And that was something he was determined to stop doing. So that is our invitation as practitioners. This is our invitation to bring a little less suffering into the world that suffers so much already by looking at our own habits, looking at our own behaviors, and seeing if we can behave in a way that is a little less unskillful, See if we can interact with the world that brings a little less misery for ourselves and by extension for one another. The practice of being here is a practice of being kind to the mind and body. It is taking time to pause from the rigors of the day. It is an invitation to breathe and rest, smile, relax, and be. Friends, one of the things I am personally passionate about in terms of recovery dharma is recognizing that one of the habit energies that causes so much misery is misusing substances. And that can be drugs, alcohol, food, could be lots and lots of different things. And it is very important to make a dedicated effort to understanding one's relationship to their own habit energy. And to shift that relationship, to bring healing to that relationship. And that is one way to lessen misery in a person's life, and by extension, misery in the lives of others. But that's not the only thing we focus on in a Buddhist practice. We focus on the way we speak to ourselves and to one another. We focus on the way we look at the world and understand the world and our place in it. And we endeavor to improve our understanding. We take notice of our actions, our impulsivity, our lethargy and laziness. We take a look at our effort and examine whether we're making excuses or blaming and projecting. We have an invitation to explore our intentions. Is my intention here today to be an asshole, or is my intention here today to offer some degree of kindness and ease? And it's so fascinating how when I'm in kind of an assholey mind state, I'm so quick to blame everybody else and make excuses. But at the end of the day, I'm the one being a jerk. So I have to own that. That's mine. And that action, that effort, I can change those things. We have an invitation to practice mindfulness, to be in the present moment. We have an invitation to practice concentration, to learn to breathe, to learn a degree of pause and stillness when possible. And when pause and stillness is not available, we invite it to be perfect, because that's where we are. And we practice being spacious so that we can maintain a spirit of openness and gentility and ease. And this creates a life and a livelihood that is all about maturing and becoming bright, whole human beings. This is the Noble Eightfold Path of Buddhism. And so while we are looking at our relationship to habit energy, we are also cultivating a whole new way of life with these qualities, these 8 qualities that are broad and open and supportive. And they sustain the journey, and they support our journey when we have craving, recurrences, when we fall asleep and become unconscious, when we're unskillful. We can always get right back on the path and keep going, because the dedication is to reduce suffering, reduce misery in ourselves. And when we do, we reduce misery for everyone. This is a big deal. And we have everything we need. So let's take a moment and meet ourselves exactly where we are, with a smile and some friendly curiosity, and breathe. As Marty likes to say, just breathe. Let's leave it there, and we'll end our practice today with a dedication of merit. For those of you who are new to the Buddhist practice, there's a very traditional way of taking refuge and coming into the Dharma, and that is to set the practice with an intention, which we did today. And our intention today was to remember that our smile has healing power. And so to share it freely, what a beautiful, beautiful superpower resting on your face. I love it. And then we end our practice with a dedication of merit. And this is a moment to acknowledge that coming here is a virtuous act. Let me repeat that. Coming here is a virtuous act. And then to be here, to breathe, to practice, to listen, to take something in, to share and leave something behind is also powerful, powerful, beautiful virtue. This is enormous positive karma collected here as individuals and as a community. And so we recognize this merit that we have generated here today as a community and as individuals. But as practitioners, we don't keep it for ourselves. We take in this merit, we know that it's doing good work for us, but then we share it out in the world. So we dedicate this practice to anyone out there in the world who is lost and alone, isolated and confused, trapped by the ravages of habit energy, people who are in places of the world where they don't have access to the Dharma, people who are living on the street, who are in the hospital, in their cars, alone in their apartments, in jails or prisons around the world. May our efforts here today and the positivity that we've generated here today find them, reach around the globe in a gentle, loving embrace, and may we remember that our efforts today to smile really will bring healing to the world. Thank you so much for your practice today, friends. We'll see you next time. Namaste.